Welcome. Another show, RPMHD. Lucas Oil Nationals recap here with Dave W. As always, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike D. There's Dave W. Dave, you can wave to fans or who's ever watching. I don't know how many people are watching, but we're just watching. We're having fun today. Let's have some fun.
Good evening, everybody. Goodness. Nice to see everybody that tunes in, and hopefully all appreciate the show and us breaking down the Brainerd action.
Yeah. What an event it was. Had a surprise winner in my mind. Kind of a surprise. And then some not so surprise winners. We'll touch all of that today, though. We're usually here on Monday. It's Tuesdays, ladies and gentlemen. It's fine. Oh, look, I'm all right. All right, let's go with this. Let's start with our top fuel winners, or our top fuel winner, so to speak. Justin Ashley. Hadn't seen him in the winner's circle in a while, but I would say, Dave, he definitely deserved it based off his performance, even though he only qualified 8th.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And, like you mentioned, 8th place isn't really the best thing that you would middle of the pack, basically. And because it's only a 14-car field, unfortunately, not a full field, that meant no lane choice going into round one either. And a tough matchup against Billy Torrance, and you're right in the middle. I mean, the field was one of the closest that we've seen in top fuel, even though there's only 14 cars, a tenth of a second separating them from a 68 to a 78. It's almost like top fuel's turning into pro stock where anybody can win. And when you get into that kind of scenario, Justin Ashley and his reaction time ability is your guy.
No, he definitely is. I mean, and when you look at how his day went, I mean, he had Billy Torrance round one. That's no easy draw. A resurging Tony Stewart in the second round, not an easy draw. And another guy was resurging Josh Hart we'll talk about. That wasn't as easy as draws it might have once have been before defeating the one and only Sean Langdon in the finals.
No. And you would have not, like you said, expected Josh to be there. And credit where credit's due, when it came to the semifinal round, he didn't make it under the power to the finish line, but Josh Hart actually had over 100th on Justin Ashley leaving the starting line. So that could have, if that car made it down the track, went the other way really easy.
No, he definitely could have. I mean, he was 35 on the tree. He was definitely ready for that round. I mean, you talk about consistency all day. 374 round one, 376 round two, 375 round three, and 374 in the semis. I mean, the car ran between a 74 and a 76 all day long. That's tough to beat.
And the competitors, I think, knew that because look at what he was up against. I mean, had better lights, and most of the other guys in the other lane had troubles. He didn't really have anybody that was able to get down the track the way that he was.
No, he didn't. And his final round opponent, which was Sean Langdon, qualified 5th, not bad. Had Sean Reed in the first round, a racy. Well, I can't say you should have lost, but he got outran. He won on a hole shot. Faces his teammate in the second round. Wins with subpar performance. He only goes 397. And then goes against, I'm going to say, is it Ida Zetterstorm?
I believe that's how you pronounce it, yes.
It's Ida Zetterstorm.
Ida Zetterstrom.
Ida Zetterstrom. I'm going to let you say her name from here on the show.
Which was a very big shock to begin with, too.
Yeah. I don't know if her going negative 334 on a tree just threw him off completely, or did the car have a mechanical problem? I'm guessing he saw her red, and even though he went red also, because she went so red that he just coasted. I mean, she went 384. She had nothing to hang her head about. We'll talk about her momentarily. And before he went to the finals and went 402 in a losing effort. So let's look at it from this point of view. If you're Sean Langdon, you made one decent run all day Sunday, and that was a 377 in the first round, which wouldn't it probably even beat most of the cars in round one. Actually, it wouldn't have beat his own competitor. You beat him on a hole shot. Somehow, he finessed his way to the final round, which is what they say, a right place, right time kind of sport.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? If you look throughout the season, I mean, yeah, there's been some lulls here and there, but that's just been Sean Langdon's season. I mean, the guy's not second in points for nothing. I mean, he has been able to rise to the occasion when needed. And I mean, sometimes the cars let him down a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, they have had a solid season. Both of the Team Toyota cars have had a solid season. And, you mentioned Justin Ashley. I mean, we know that he started his season pretty hot, kind of fell into a lull a little bit, and now he is back. This was the first couple of races of the year. These were the final rounds that we were looking at as these two competitors right here. And the fact that they're picking right up as we're going into the U.S. Nationals and then starting this countdown, I think that it doesn't really matter if you have a bad part or early part or mid part of the year. Now is the time that you want to get hot. Now is not the time you want to be struggling. So I think it's great for both of them to have made it to the final round again after starting the year hot.
No, I mean, you're right. And I'm sure Justin Ashley will trade in all those potato chip challenges that he's won all last year and trade them in for a championship if that was to come to fruition this year.
Exactly.
It'd been a long time. I mean, you may not, I don't honestly remember, when is the last time Justin Ashley actually won a race? Was it the four wides in Charlotte?
Let me take a look.
I believe it was.
I don't have the answer to exactly off the top of my head, but I can check. Because I know that they both started the season hot and went back and forth when it came to early season wins. And it was kind of like, maybe this is going to be how this one's going to play out. But Justin's last win was actually, so he won the four wides at Charlotte. And prior to that, he was the Winter Nationals winner at Pomona.
Yeah. He
was the second repeat winner. So Sean was the first repeat winner. He won Gainesville and Phoenix. And sandwiched in between was Justin, and then Doug Coletta got in there. But really, to start the season, Justin won Pomona, runner-up at Phoenix, runner-up at the Vegas four wides, winner of the Charlotte four wides. I mean, he had a pretty hot start to the year. So a little bit of a lull in between, but now that he's back in winner's circle again, look out come the countdown.
Yeah, really. I mean, especially with his driving ability, I mean, you can only imagine that things are going to tighten up quite a bit once the countdown starts. Speaking of countdown, not a good weekend for Brittany Force, considering that she has to make the top 10 this year due to missing a race to be with her dad, who was, as we all know, injured in the Richmond event. She sat out Norwalk, has since returned. I believe she's 10th in points, but really didn't do herself any favors with that round one loss.
No.
And it wasn't a loss where the car smoked the tires. I mean, she just got outran. Unfortunate but true. She just got beat. It happens. It's part of the sport.
It's hard, when you look at their qualifying performances, finally back into 360s again. Finally going 336, 335. Seems like they got their speed again. Seems like they're coming into a track that maybe fits their tune-up a little bit better, and maybe they can, start really stepping up like they need to really distance themselves, because she is in serious jeopardy on the 10th position. And especially to have that first round loss and then see Josh Hart going through the rounds of eliminations. It's kind of like, this might be, bad news come Indy. But she still does have at least a 60-point lead on him, so she can breathe a little bit easier. She's got a couple of round advantage, but with points and a half at Indy, they better start stacking up some Q points with 5 sessions, getting, little points here, little points there, and do what they can, because if they have another showing at Indy like this one, or another showing at Indy like Chicago with 20-plus top fuel cars there, and they don't make the cut, I think they're in serious jeopardy of getting knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me right now, I believe Sean Reed's is also lurking around there outside the top 10, but is looking to make a showing. I mean, she's not in an opportune spot right now. And if you're Sean Reed or Josh Hart, you have nothing to lose at this point. You're in, because they've raced at every event so far. So, I mean, if you can get her out, why wouldn't you? I mean, she's going to show up at the rest of the race. You still got to deal with her, but hey, that's just a points factor that you don't have to deal with if you're one of those teams. We'll see how this plays out. Once again, though, we're going to credit Justin Ashley. Those guys, that team has looked like it has rebounded. I wouldn't say they were in a slump. I mean, just Top Fuels racing is just tough this year, and they finally showed back up. Mike Green, the guys, like we spoke on earlier, 4 runs, all between a 74 and a 76, and with a guy who drives like that kid, I mean, it's hard not to win.
Well, maybe not a slump, but just not typical Justin Ashley-like performances and showings what you're normally used to, especially like you said, after the last couple of years and being a championship and a countdown contender, you kind of just, they're one of the feared cars when you come up to eliminations, and they had a couple of down races where they weren't necessarily the ones that would have been the favorites going into elimination. So to see them kind of work themselves back into the picture now, right again when it's starting to count, is pretty good. Pretty good for them, not so good for the rest of the field.
No, I mean, and speaking of not so good, Antron Brown, who was your previous winner at Sonoma, has had a history this season of winning a race and then going out early the next race. Round 1, Doug Kalita. Well, thanks for coming, Antron. Kalita takes the win, and that was that. I mean, Antron Brown his car is kind of all in or not this year. And if you go to every other final in the countdown, it might work out for you. But if not, right. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
I don't think that that's going to be enough consistency for the guys that are winning, especially if they can put together a big win. If you're in contention at Pomona, we saw what it was last year. You had to win it to win it. And I think that the way that the field is this year, the way the competition level is, the way that the qualifying has played out, it's really going to determine how many cars show up to these last couple of races as we get into the countdown. Because when you start having short fields and this quality of cars, I mean, first round matchups are final round matchups at most events. So
correct.
You're getting hit hard early. You really got to hit it in qualifying, because a couple thousandths here, a couple thousandths there can be the difference of racing somebody that's, I wouldn't say guaranteed to put you, be a tough draw, but, you think that you'd qualify in a certain spot and get an easier draw than what you get. And wherever you fall on the ladder now, it seems like they're all tough.
Well, yeah, if you're poor Antron Brown, you won Sonoma, you win the Potato Chip Challenge, Mission Foods Challenge on Saturday, you qualify 11th, and then you get Doug Kalita round 1.
Right.
And, I mean, it's unfortunate but true. And like I said, this pattern has repeated itself this year, where he's won a race one weekend and he's been ousted round 1 the following weekend. And they're going to have to change that. I mean, we know the car can win. We know it can run good. But if you look back even on Saturday, that car didn't make consistent runs during a Mission Foods Challenge. It was pretty much putting holes out every run there. It's just that the other guys were making bigger mistakes than he were. It looks like they went for it in round 1. I don't blame them. Kalita went 68, and it just didn't work out in their favor. But, I mean, it's all in where you qualify, and he qualified 11th, and that's what happens. And I'm sure they'll put some testing in before the Indy race, but consistency is going to be the name of the game, like you spoke on a minute ago. When it comes to this countdown, it's who's ever the most consistent is going to get who is going to win this championship.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of other championship potential contenders really faltering and falling on hard this event, Jasmine Salinas has pretty much all but assured that she will likely not make this countdown. As a matter of fact, Brittany Force just needs to qualify at Indy, and it will lock Jasmine out.
Well, that's not necessarily a lock as we've seen this year, but I get what you're saying. Brittany has failed to qualify. I seriously doubt. Yeah, like you said, just she fails to qualify at Indy.
That's really the only thing that Jasmine has a chance to even make her way into the top 10 is Brittany has to DNQ, and she's got to go more rounds than Josh Hart and Sean Reed to work herself up from the hole she's dug, unfortunately. But yeah, pretty much if Brittany's car qualifies, that will completely lock out Jasmine from being able to advance.
Yeah, and Jasmine, this has kind of been a learning season for her. Her dad, Mike Salinas, ran the first race of the year, and he was out with medical conditions from that point on, and she's picked up the torch from there. She's still learning. It looks like they were kind of spoon feeding her the power lately. The car has been running a lot better. I'm sure she's working to improve her lights. It's just Top Fuel racing. I'm going to consider this just a training wheel year for her to just get things prepared for next season. I would have to think she's going to be bigger and better next year. And let's not count her out yet. Even if she doesn't make the countdown, I still feel like she can hurt some feelings in this countdown situation, even if she's not included.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely would be in the spoiler role. It's just going to be a shame that if they really start hitting that stride and going rounds and doing what that car is capable of, that they'll look back and go, man, if we only had a chance to be in it.
Yeah, and you know what they say, there's always next year. There's always next year, but she's going to be able to learn, gain a lot of experience from the season. Look forward to big things. Like I said, the car's been running strong lately. She has nothing to hang her head about, her or that team. It's just kind of the way the Moths flopped this year. I mean, she's ran good and lost some close races. She lost this weekend. She outran Josh Hart, actually. She was 74 to 75, but the 120 light obviously did her in, and you can't have that in Top Fuel races, not anymore. Those days are over with.
It seemed like the story of most of the professional classes this weekend was the starting line. You either had guys that were really, really late or really, really red. And I don't know what it was going on up there, but man, were they all over the place.
Yeah, and that's when you say Top Fuel's almost a new pro stock is what they're saying nowadays. It ain't almost, it pretty much is, and you definitely got to have your game on the starting line, or it's going to be an early exit for you. Moving on, Top Fuel. I spoke with Tony Schumacher after a loss shortly at the Sonoma event. He lost round 1 there, and I asked him about his season up to this point. And here's what Tony Schumacher had to say about his season up to this point, which he said was a C+.
C+. I mean, we're off championship form. You know, we can't fake that stuff. I used to tell my dad I got an A+, but it really was on the report card. You know, the report cards are true. So we're not hitting it. We're not running right. We're off, but we're not working any less hard than anyone else. So we'll figure it out at the end. It's just dig deep moments all the time, adversity, and getting through it. So we're suffering through it. We've won it. You know, we're still in, I think 6th. We're fighting for in the countdown. We'll go in for a championship, but we better have our act together within the next 2 races.
Well,
he's right.
It doesn't get any more brutally honest than that.
That is the truth.
I mean,
that is definitely the truth.
I mean, struggling, C+ season, does have a win. Can't take that away from him. But like he said, they got to get their act together. And
the funny thing is, going into Indy, which I know it's 1.5 points, but at the 20 points around, he's only 1 round out of being in 6th place in the points for being a C+ mediocre season, if that tells you about how everybody else is doing.
Yeah, from around 6th to 9th is just a cluster.
Yeah.
With him and the other Tony. And I mean, speaking of the other Tony, I think it was Tony versus Tony round 1. And
round 1. It's Schumacher off the line first. Look at this drag race. Tony Stewart drives around him.
And that's pretty much been Tony Stewart's rebirth and Tony Schumacher's downfall, if you want to speak on it. I mean, they had to get their act together. They went to Brainerd, and I mean, the car didn't run bad. It just got outran. And Tony Stewart's at a point right now after the final round appearance in Sonoma, looked to be playing hardball in Brainerd. Qualified very well, probably his best qualifying effort of the year. I'm almost sure it was.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the 72 round 1. I talked to Neil Strasbog and Sonoma, and he said they just been trying to find power. And once they find power, they'll be okay. They are underpowered right now. It looks like they found it. Somewhere between Sonoma and Brainerd, because, I mean, they did well at Sonoma. They found it. When I talked to Neil, this was on Friday of Sonoma, or Thursday. This is the Thursday before the Sonoma event, where he said they were just down on power, and they've been searching to find power. And it looks like whatever has been the culprit has been found. I mean, the car went to the 60s and ran very strong in the first round. It looked to be on its way in round 2. I thought it was going to end, and well, that was that. But definitely continue to create the Schumacher team to want to work harder, because I mean that round 1 loss is definitely not what they were looking for. I mean that did not end well for them. Round 1 loss to Sonoma, come to Brainerd, and
Champ in round 1. It's Schumacher off the line first. Look at this drag race. Tony Stewart drives around him 3-7.
Going to give him a good gauge on a get well weekend. Why not Indy? Indy and Tony Schumacher are, one of the greatest competitors there in Top Fuel.
How many does he have? 10? 9?
I believe it's 10. Yeah.
10? 9? Yeah. That guy in Indy, he's a force to be reckoned with. That's definitely a fact. We'll see. But his teammate did okay.
Ida off the line first. And Ida Zetterstrom is.
How about that? Now, how about that?
Well, like I said before, it was not a good day to be a Torrance, because neither Torrance got out of the first round. When's the last time that happened? I don't know, but both Billy and Steve are gone round 1. And I don't think Billy accepted that. I mean, that I don't think he expected. I'm sure he respected it. I don't think he expected it, and I'm sure that messed up a lot of people's brackets, bonanza brackets. But we don't race them on paper.
Well, and the amazing thing too is, not only did you have Steve Torrance penciled in on that run, that was the automatic bye run into the semis. So her first race, she's going to the semifinal round of eliminations, and unfortunately, just made a mental error and stepped on it a little bit too soon.
She was amped up.
Who knows how that could have played out, because with Sean having the trouble, I mean, obviously he never tried to get back in or anything, but 384, 323 could have easily won that race, and that could have been a very different final round in her showing.
Yeah, I'm guessing he might have she went and it caused him to go, and then he realized she's red.
Well,
and
yeah, exactly right.
It just I don't know what he would have did, but you know what? Credit to her first round win. She didn't have an easy draw, and
Ida off the line first. And Ida Zetterstrom is going to round.
She won and left first. Credit to her. Now, granted, she may be a rookie in NHRA Top Fuel Racing, but she's no rookie to Top Fuel Racing whatsoever. I believe she was a European Top Fuel champion in the past. So we're definitely going to give her respect. It's not like she's some newcomer that we've never heard of or that's never driven a Top Fuel car. That is simply not the case. But to come out here to the States, draw Billy Torrance round 1, and then
Ida off the line first. And Ida Zetterstrom.
Yeah.
Steve Torrance, not Billy. That was Steve.
That was Steve? Was it Steve? See, I'm all off today. That was Steve. Yeah, poor Steve. Well, you know what? I think it's Tony Schumacher who has like more first round losses or more losses to some like first time drivers or rookie guys. Yeah, it's like, so you know what, Steve, you got to wear the hat. You're the 4-time champ, even though you won the last year, you won 4 in a row. And yeah, that happens. Everyone's going to be gunning for you no matter who you are. And
Ida off the line first. And Ida Zetterstrom is.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know what? Great weekend for her. Semifinals, you can't complain about that. I'm sure she's still upset about that red light. I believe on top of it, she said that was her first ever red light. She never done that before. But it's a different pressure when you come out here. It is. And when you come out to the States and you're running a Sean Langdon, I mean, you know that guy's going to be 60 on the tree or better. So, I mean, she was definitely amped up, and it just got her this time. But will she be in Indy? I believe so.
As far as I know, I thought this was supposed to be her first race to start to run through the rest of the season.
Okay, well, there you have it. So, hey, we'll be seeing her soon in 2 weeks at the U.S. Nationals. looking for more upsets like this.
Ida off the line first. And Ida Zetterstrom is going.
Yeah, Steve Torrance probably still pissed about that one. But we'll go on moving on. Funny car. Was it a surprise or was it just another win waiting to happen? What do you call it?
To me, it was a surprise. I mean, the car has run good throughout the year. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they ran good at Joliet. They struggled really, really bad in Sonoma, and Blake really took that hard after those couple of explosions that they had. But, I mean, they came out swinging right after the first qualifying session. They held it strong through qualifying. I mean, obviously they got passed by at that particular point. But, I mean, solid race day, solid tune-up, going rounds. And with all the added countdown pressure for that team to have to make the top 10, they couldn't have picked a better time to have this happen for them.
Yeah, and in Sonoma, it was more so, I think he got beat on a hole shot. I mean, if he does not have the greatest lights all the time, Blake tends to be a little inconsistent on tree, but on this particular weekend, I mean, you would almost say he was driving with a purpose. I mean, his lights.
You could say that, but I mean, he had solid lights, but the tune-up was there too. I mean, his race day, 392, 394, 394, 392. I mean, that car was going down the track every single time, and he was cutting the lights. So, I mean, obviously the semifinal round was a red light because just like the other matchup with Sean Langdon and Ida Zetterstrom was reacting to Chad Green's foul. But at the same time, I mean, the car, I think that was a perfect storm for them. Everything came together, and it's hard to beat when everything's in your favor and the stars line up like that. Then you got to take advantage of it, and they did.
You look at this guy's lights through the weekend. It was 59, 67. We're going to excuse the semis because that was just a thing. So when 59, 67, 69. His slowest light was a 69 in a funny car. That's pretty good. That's pretty good considering I've seen him lose with lights in the 90s or lights in the 120s or whatever the case may be. So for him to cut that light in the finals against Matt Hagan again, who I believe in Norwalk last year was Matt Hagan, who suffered defeat to Blake Alexander. I mean, I guess they just have Matt Hagan's number in the final round.
Well, it's ironic that Matt double stepped, and I'm absolutely shocked that was the outcome. I did not really expect. I mean, I thought it'd be a great race. I thought that the two of them were going to put on a heck of a show. I mean, Blake actually had the better car coming into the finals based on their semifinal times, and Hagan had been pretty much 96 in them to death all day, except for that 393 first round. I don't think that he, in his mind, thought he needed to get some at the starting line. I think it was just like everything else, just a mental error. He was quick. I mean, to be 136 red, I mean, you got to just, that's not really much of a guess. I don't think that was just a mistake. Yeah, and the problem is they showed it from the blimp view. So I don't know, maybe it was the long tree. Maybe, they never showed it. I don't think, at least from what I saw of the front end view that I can remember after seeing it, and to see if he was kind of just like, all right, it's time to go. Let's go.
No, I mean, and it might have been a long tree. It could have been a situation where your foot goes down, your brain goes, why did I do that? And that's it. I don't really know. I just know that Blake Alexander is 2-0 in final rounds against Matt Hagan. That I do know. And that team, based off the points that I'm looking at, is pretty much locked. I don't see them not falling out of the top 10 as far as the countdown situation comes when we go to Indy. Even though Indy's paying 1.5 points, they're going to definitely be a factor.
Well, they are. They're really I feel like they've got themselves enough of a cushion because they're pretty much over 90 points up on Alexis in 11th. So really, Alexis would have to go 4 more rounds or pick up some qualifying session points and out-qualify Blake to get it within less than that to be able to knock him out of the top. But at the same time, that's going back to the 11th place position. That's saying that not only is Alexis going to outperform them, but so is Paul Lee, Chad Green, and Daniel Wilkerson. And you're going to run out of rounds for all these guys to keep putting them further and further back. So, while not officially a lock yet, I would say that, yes, Blake Alexander has definitely raced his way into the countdown. Paul Lee, on the other hand, is definitely going to be on the hot seat.
Yeah, and I mean, as well as that car runs, what are his chances? What do you think? Do you think Paul Lee's going to make it in?
Yeah. I would really be surprised. I mean, the last couple of events and even at Brainerd, I mean, Alexis's car has outperformed him. She outqualified him. She's going to pick up some points there, and they're only within a round of racing of each other. Well, half a round of racing, really. So it's just a matter of if Paul goes out there and goes out first round and Alexis goes to round 2, it's game over for him. And that's really all he's got to worry about. Cruz Pedregon is a little over 100 points back in 12th. I don't think he's going to make his way up into the top 10 around Paul. But again, large contingent of funny cars. Qualifying is going to be very equally as important as it is in Top Fuel, because Paul could find himself struggling and on the outside of the field looking in.
No, he definitely can. And speaking of Cruz Pedregon, that's another guy I interviewed when we were in Sonoma, and I asked him about his car up to this point in the season before Brainerd and how they've been running and his expectations and how he felt about his car just past the midway point. And here's what Cruz had to say.
Well, we're underachieving for sure. We have a lot more potential than what we've shown on the track, but the good news is we're getting all the mistakes out of the way early in the season, and so we plan on finishing strong. The car is really a good car. It's really, like I said, we have more potential in there than we've shown. So it's time to start showing it, though, because obviously it's like you said, a little past halfway. So, but we're optimistic. You know, we got a good group of guys. They're younger guys. We're teaching them, and they're learning on the job. So, but the car's fast. We just need to put it together and be more consistent, and for sure qualify better, so we don't. We have to come out of the box swinging so hard. But like I said, I'm optimistic we're going to finish strong.
Yeah, and that was Cruz. He's optimistic they're going to finish strong. They just said they need to get the mistakes out of the way. Round 1, Brainerd.
Qualifying. That car has roared to life over the last 2 or 3 races. They just had round 1 buzzsaw matchups. Chad Green off the line first, smokes the tires. Cruz is over and goes bowling for blocks.
Yeah. Just when you look like you were getting that break you've been looking for and you're getting the, quote, mistakes out of the way, you make a mistake. Cruz is a veteran driver. That is something that you do not expect to see from him. And when you're watching it, you're going, here we go. I mean, here's his round win. The car ran great in qualifying. I believe ran in 380s. He just spoke on how the car is fast. They just got to clean up some things, and that happens. Is that just Cruz's season up to this point?
It just seems that way. Sometimes you just can't catch a break, and a almost assured round win at that particular point after such a great showing in qualifying, and the thing just rockets over to the right and just mows down the blocks and see you at Indy. Just that quick.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. And Cruz, like he said, he's optimistic, and they look to finish strong throughout this year. The car has been running a lot better. They just got to clean up the mistakes, like they said. I mean, I believe even in Q3, they had an issue with the clutch pedal where they were pushed off the starting line. And, you pull up for round 1, track gains, that's no gimme. Chad Green was a semifinal fixture all last year. And I mean, he hasn't had the year he's had last year, but you definitely got to respect that car. But if you Cruz, I mean,
that car has roared to life over the last 2 or 3 races. They just had round 1 buzzsaw matchups. Chad Green off the line first, smokes the tires. Cruz is over and goes bowling for blocks.
That just can't happen. not from a veteran guy like Cruz. I mean, we've seen Forrest cross the line a few times. Granted, Forrest is probably twice Cruz's age. You just can't see that happen. I like Cruz. Me and Cruz talk from time to time. He's a huge boxing MMA fan, and we talk boxing MMA when I get around him. But I hate to see that for him. Sometimes you look at situations and you say, well, hopefully we can get the bad luck out of the way now so we can start winning races later. It can definitely happen. That car has definitely shown some strong moments. That was just unfortunate.
I feel like at this point, they're just looking to get through Indy and get these points reset. And then, hey, let's get to Reading. We're in the hunt. We're creeping up on it. We're getting there. We're getting the tune up there. Let's just get to that point. Indy will be one. I mean, Indy's Indy. Of course, you want to win Indy, but 5 qualifying runs, you go more rounds on race day, you get more runs there than you do most places. So, one good test session for them, and let's stack the deck and go racing at Reading.
No, you're absolutely right. I think they just want to kind of put these first 16, 17 races behind them and get ready for this countdown and just see how things go from there. A team we have to talk about, J.R. Todd, the story of the day.
Sure.
Destroys not one but 2 bodies over the weekend. Brought out the backup car after they destroyed the first one. Well, they didn't destroy the car, but they found something in the first car in the chassis during the explosion that they felt it wasn't deemed to run the rest of the weekend. Bring out a second car with a second body. We've seen that done before. It's no big deal. And then go ahead. I don't know why I don't have the video highlights. I should. They destroy the second body. And if there was ever a concept of team, would have to be Toyota, because Team Toyota stepped in. That beat Ron Capps, and next thing you know, you saw a DHL Napa body on the starting line, which I'm sure if you weren't paying attention, had people rubbing their eyes trying to figure out what the heck is that. Not only did they pull up to the starting line and make it for the semifinals, the car didn't run bad. JR said himself that he just stepped off early once he saw that Hagan was out in front of him and he wasn't going to catch him. So I'm guessing that car was going to probably run about a 4 flat. They just got flat out beat. He left first. I mean, credit to the yellow fellas, as they call them, in the DHL Collider team, along with Ron Capps, for making that happen. That was something that we hadn't seen probably since the 80s, maybe the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good effort on the team. It was a heck of a thrash. They got everything put back together. The multiple teams working on, one set of guys working on the body to get it fit. The other set of guys working on getting the turnaround done on the chassis and the motor and getting the tune-up in it and ready to go. I think it was cool to see an old school kind of pit thrash and everybody coming together and getting them back on the line. Didn't work out. It wasn't a winning run, but it was still very entertaining. And another great showing and another semifinal round appearance for J.R. Todd to, again, put him in the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge coming up here at the U.S. National. Or actually, no, I take that back. They don't do that at the U.S. Nationals for the funny car class because we got the call-out coming up.
Yeah, and if there was a team that was going to probably stay in test in Brainerd, it ain't that one anymore. I think they got to go back and regroup, get some chassis, get a few more bodies, and get ready for Indy. They might show up for the Indy test, but I know quite a few teams were staying for Brainerd to test. I think that DHL team is probably already back in Ypsilanti right now trying to get things back in order after what took place. Yeah, I don't think they stuck around for the test in Brainerd on Monday afternoon.
I don't think so either. I didn't see them in any of the picture galleries. I think they went back to get to work and get ready for Indy.
Oh, most definitely. But you know what? Credit to that team for pulling through the way they did. Credit to Ron Capps and the Napa Know-How team for loaning a body, throwing a few DHL stickers on there, and making it happen. I mean, if there was a true concept of Team Toyota, that's what it is. I'm sure the people at Toyota were smiling at that one, and it almost worked. We thought we were going to see the Mark Oswald 1991 Gainesville final where he destroyed his body in the semifinals, and they used parts of Tom Hoover's body, put it together, and made it happen. Didn't quite work out that way, but the fact that it worked, those guys got together and they put that car back together, drug it up to the start line, and ran a respectable number with an early shutoff. Credit to that team.
Oh, 100%. And, credit to JR for also understanding that that's where they've been having the issues, is in the last little bit of the track and stepping off and not wanting to, knowing that he's not going to win, just stepping off of it and avoid destroying that body too.
Yeah, how bad would it have been had you destroyed the Napa body after they just loaned it to you?
After all that.
After that point, you're just like, forget that. But Gerard, he had a decent weekend, qualified 9th, 394 in the first round, and beat Austin Prock in the second round. He was 0-15 on the tree. I mean, talk about not cutting the guy any slack, and Prock ran a 10th quicker, but Prock probably had his, I mean, I'm not going to say probably, that was his worst light in eliminations this year. He was 116. He was sour about it on the top end. I understand. I mean, you have pretty much the car to beat, and you go 116 on the tree, and you have nothing to show for it. At 391, which is low ET of the second round. Certainly not what we're used to seeing Austin do. It does happen to the best of them, and it happened to him this weekend. Rather this weekend in Indy, I'm sure.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, how often do you have a 116 light and your competitor in a nitro funny car goes 0-15 on the tree?
Yeah, I mean, Gerald
again, it was just one of those things where it's like, you know what, this run is fate. It is what it is. You can't, whatever's going on, you got what you got, and it wasn't meant to be, is really all you can look at it. Because I don't feel like, I mean, I guess I wouldn't say that it was a guess, but I mean, it's not like Austin was great even in the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge the night before at a 77 against Caps's 97 light. He just had the quicker car and could hold the lead. But yeah, man, that was embarrassing. If J.R. Todd goes out there and has a 60 light, yeah, it looks bad, but you're still winning around. But when he goes out there, goes 0-15, and he goes a 401 to your 391 and picks up the win, that's what hurts.
Yeah, I mean, J.R. Todd turned into Dallas Glenn there for a second and got the win. He definitely stole one, but at the same time, Proc gave it to him with a 119 light. As much as J.R. stole it, Proc gave it to him. Right. And I'm sure he'll learn from that, and I expect to see a different Austin Proc not making those type of mistakes in Indy, which I'm sure everyone's looking forward to. But yeah, that was pretty brutal. But before we close out, like I said, once again, we just want to congratulate Blake Alexander. You could say your surprise winner in Funny Car. We're going to say a win looking for a place to happen because the car has run well most of the year. Credit to those guys, Jim Head and the guys. I mean, Jim Head just kind of stuck in that range where he was in the mid-90s all day, and they got the win and solidified themselves in the countdown. And yeah, that was it. You know, Indy's going to be real special, as they say it always is.
Especially for the funny car class, because you got the call out race and the U.S. Nationals. It's almost like, you know, throwback to the Big Bud Shootout days. So you've got the race within a race, and it's going to be interesting for those guys to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, it's going to be real interesting, and it should be fun. Moving on to Pro Stock. Well, you talk about surprises. Here's a surprise for you. Your number one qualifier is Jerry Tucker. I don't know who had that. I don't think anyone had that. I don't even think Jerry Tucker had that. I don't think Jerry Tucker knew he was going to qualify number one at Brainerd.
And on that, you know, he did it on speed too by tying Erica and having just a couple of tenths of a mile an hour faster speed, ends up with the number one spot
in her old car.
Right.
He's driving her old car, the one she won 40 championships in, 4 or 5 of them. I think she won 4 of them in that one. But yeah, I mean, he qualifies number one. Figure, hey, this might be my weekend. Then get strapped to a light pole in round one when Mason McGahey goes 0-19 to Jerry's 0-52. A 64 beats a 61. Thanks for coming, Jerry. Enjoy your number one qualifier because that's all you got from this event. Yeah, that was it. That was it.
I know, but isn't that's just how tough this class is right now. It's just how tough it is. If you can come off the line that quick, I mean, you got a chance against anybody.
Well, and credit to Mason, who's kind of shown up the last few races. Sonoma didn't go too well for him, he qualified well. 019, 028, 047. Fernando didn't help himself with 099 light. And then he's 011 in the final. If the car just does what it's been doing all day and makes a somewhat decent run, Mason McGahey wins this race.
Well, I mean, he had 500s in the bank. Yeah, Dallas goes to 661. If he goes to 666 or better, Mason McGahey's holding the Wally.
Yeah,
but it just wasn't meant to be. And they said as much themselves. They interviewed his crew chief after the first round, and he's like, "How about our driver, man? If I could just get this car under him, we'll be all right."
Yeah, and I don't know if they just went for it on that run. I mean, obviously they missed it, but I don't know where they're just trying to run quicker. I mean, the kid did his job. I mean, that and for a team that needs a win, the McGahey organization, Southwest Performance, a team that can really use a win right now, that was it. I'm not going to say there's not going to be more opportunities later on down the line, but that was the one they're going to look back at and say, had we only, and I don't know what adjustments they made between all the other rounds and the finals, but I'm guessing, I don't know if they second guessed themselves or what, but yeah, that's kind of where the mob flops sometimes. And take nothing away from that team, but credit to Dallas Glenn. He wins again. Is it the third or fourth win this year? Can't remember.
Take a look here. 1, 2.
Let's see.
Third
win this year.
But you combine that with all of his other semifinal and runner-up finishes. I mean, let's look at it this way. If we don't have the countdown, Dallas Glenn was last year's champion. He was the best overall season driver in the class. And he's coming back and he's showing up and he's doing the same thing again this year. There's only been one time so far, it looks like, that they were not in, or maybe 2 times, that they were not in the mission challenge the next race.
Yeah.
Which means you have to be at least semifinals or better to have that happen. And so to have that good of a car all year long, except for 2, I mean, that's some awesome consistency going right there.
No, it really is. And I'm sure he's going to be, I mean, we already know he's going to be a force to be reckoned with countdown time. I believe he's leading the points right now. And, I don't think anyone wants to count out Erica Enders yet. I mean, the countdown is all about consistency, leaving on time, all those things. And you have to know that Erica's going to be ready come countdown time.
I mean, you could never count her out. You can never count out Greg Anderson. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be ready countdown time too. But look at it this way. Before Indy, which are going to be points and a half, and you never know how Indy's going to play out, Dallas Glenn's got 184 points on Greg and 206 on Erica and 212 on Aaron Stanfield. I mean, that's like some Austin Prock points lead right there.
Yeah, so, I mean, if there wasn't a countdown, if there wasn't a countdown, he's going to have this thing sold up by Vegas. The way he's been running,
right?
I mean, you'll be saying Dallas Glenn, 2-time Pro Stock champion, but we also made the weekend kind of, I ain't gonna say special, but it was nice to see the Quadra family back. They've been gone for about 4 or 5 races, and they all came, they all qualified, and Fernando Jr. beats Troy. David beats Derek Kramer, and Christian beats Matt Hartford, and all 3 got out of the first round. I mean, they certainly made their presence felt after missing the last few races.
Yeah, I would agree. And really, as we're looking at the point standings, because they don't have the participation award to fall back on since they have missed races, it was especially important for Christian to have a good showing and to add points to his total and stay up ahead. And he is up at 8th in the points, and you have 11th place who would knock him out or be one of the ones to attempt to knock him out, Mason McGahey in the runner-up position. And then you got Derek Kramer and Eric Latino sandwiched in between. But I think he's in pretty good shape going into Indy with a 40-point, which could get into a 2-round lead after qualifying over Mason. I mean, he's only 1 round ahead of Derek and Eric. But again, once we get to Indy and it's 1.5 points, they just need to continue having good showings. They need to qualify up at the top of the field. They need to get some session points if they can. And otherwise, I mean, Christian Quadra right now is racing for his spot in the championship. So that is going to be all the pressure on that particular car at Indy.
Yeah, and credit to that team, because round 2 it was Christian versus Fernando Jr. And
Right.
Fernando could have easily squeezed in the clutch and let him have it to get the points,
Right.
and he didn't. He beat him a 663 to a 668. Credit to that team for running heads up and not doing any giveaways or team orders or anything of that nature. I can't do nothing but give kudos to that team, because if there was a moment where they could have said, well, let's help out one and sacrifice the other, it was there, and they didn't do it.
Correct.
They didn't do it at all. Greg Anderson. Well, Greg Anderson has not had I mean, he's from Minnesota, and I'm guessing he was looking to have a great weekend in Minnesota, and well, that went away quick because Jeg Jr. went 0-12 to Greg's 0-34 on the tree, and it was thanks for coming, Greg. A 60 loses to a 61. Those are the things that concern me about Greg Anderson come countdown time. There are his lights. It's not the car. Will Greg be able to show up and drive the way he needs to win a championship this year?
I think both would concern me, because he had a hell of a light in the final. I believe it was at Bristol when that thing just completely annihilated the tire and took away his chances there. So it can go either way. And I mean, in all honesty, a 34 light isn't that terrible, especially when you compare Greg's light. And I know we talk about it all the time, right time, right place sport. Put Greg's light up against everybody else in the first round of eliminations. He's still top 5 out of the 16 cars.
Yeah, he
still
is.
Top 5 light. He just happened to be against the guy that's got a 12 on him and can run the number, and did not, but again, that's how tight the field is. And you have final round matchups in the first round. And that's just how tight this class has become.
No, it has. I mean, when you go against Jag Coughlin Jr., you got to go for it, because he is. I mean, that's just, you're not going to catch Jag sleeping on the tree too often. And if you're Jag and you're going against Greg Anderson, he's going to go for it. I'm guessing Greg did his best, and that was just his best at that moment, and just his best wasn't good enough. But you know what? He's from Minnesota. He got to go hang out with the family after round 1, or whatever relatives are still up that way. And
one way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of quality time to spend with the family members, the fellow Minnesotians that he grew up with, because he didn't have too much else to do race day after round 1. Check the spark plugs and load that thing in the trailer and call it a day.
Well, I'm sure he was busy helping his teammates get all the way through to eliminations too, and helping Dallas all the way to finals.
Well, I'm sure he helped, but where his service is needed, hard to say. But hey, you know what? Indy's coming up, and we'll see. I'm really concerned about Greg countdown only because of losing on the whole shot. I don't doubt the car. I doubt his driving from time to time. When he's on, but that's anyone.
Right. And that could go either way for any of the drivers that are upcoming here. And it's going to be interesting to see. There are probably another ones who are just like, all right, let's see how we can do it at Indy. You know how special Indy is to a lot of these drivers, especially, everybody there, but Erica, Greg, Jag, the guys that have had guys and girls that have had great success there over the years, and put a lot of importance on it. We all know that the points are getting reset come Reading. Indy is just going to be Indy for these guys. I don't think they're setting up for anything. They're not tuning up for the countdown. The guys that are there to race, that know that they're in, are going to be putting on a heck of a show at the U.S. Nationals.
Any predictions of Indy?
Man, I guess it depends on how the weather is. If you got cool, sticky track conditions, I mean, I'm looking at the Coletta cars in Top Fuel. I'm looking at the JFR cars in Funny Car, and I'm looking at Greg Anderson and Dallas Glenn in the Pro Stocks. If you got good weather, if the track's hot and sticky, and or hot and slippery, and some of these guys can struggle a little bit, the tune-up comes into a play. It could be really anybody's race. So, and Indy could go either way. It is proven that you can get some awesome low ET big speed numbers, especially on that Friday night session, and then come Sunday be 180 out from it, and it's completely a tuner's race.
Yeah, as much as I want to look at the Coletta cars, I'd have to think that Team Torrance has something for them, the Capco team.
That very well could be.
It's going to be very hard to avoid them come Indy. Both of those cars run really well. Even Tony Stewart's car, the resurgence that it's had, I'm sure they're going to make a few test runs before Indy. And I mean, it's going to be, first of all, qualifying for Indy is just going to be, I mean, I believe if I'm guessing right, I'm sure Zizzo's showing up, and we know, I can't pronounce her name again, but we all know, we know she's showing up. It's going to be something. It'd be nice to see if John Force shows up. We haven't heard from him. No one's seen him outside of Instagram photos, but
I think it's still early for that.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think that I would expect to see him except for Vegas and Pomona, because it's just the West Coast races and they're close.
Yeah. It'd be nice, though. It would be nice.
I agree. And, Indy's one of those places. I mean, we've got, if you look at the entry list, I mean, you got your usual cast of characters. We got Ida Edderstrom added to the mix now. You've got Trip Tatum. He's coming back. Lex June's going to be there. Dan Mercier, TJ Zizzo, who is always tough, even as a part-time team. Sean Reed, Krista Baldwin, Doug Foley. I mean, all these guys are coming out to run this race, and it's going to be a war just to make the field. I think you might see – what's that?
Is Trip Tatum showing up as well?
Yeah, Trip Tatum's on the list. Yep. I'm thinking it's going to take I think it's probably going to take a 75 to make this field if the weather cooperates.
I would be willing to guess. How many cars is it? 21?
What does that make it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 20. 20 cars.
I'm almost willing to bet there's a top 10 car that fails to qualify. Almost.
I believe 19 or 20 on the funny car side of things too. So
I mean, when you look at the extras, so let's just say there's usually lately there's been 14 top fuel cars showing up. So we got 6 extras, but you're going to have 4 that don't make it.
Right.
Do you see TJ Zizzo not making the show?
I don't see him as one of the ones that aren't going to make it. No, I think that is a top tier part-time team. Let's put it that way. Because when they show up, they are there to race and win. And I think they're going to be in the field for sure.
And I would have to say the same thing about Trip Tatum and Doug Foley.
Yes.
So that's 3 that I have in.
Right. Who's that bump out? You know what I mean?
You got
guys you put out of the show?
Do you see Eder not qualifying?
Well,
you got 2 cars.
Step it up. I mean, they ran a 78 at Brainerd.
Yeah.
She's going to have to go. They're going to have to put a mid to low 70 tune-up in that car and get her down the track. And I don't see her as a DNQ. No, I feel like
especially with the shared information with the Tony Schumacher.
Exactly. They're sharing with Tony. So it's basically like having a 2-car team, 2-car data, and the extra runs are really going to help. They're basically, that team's getting 10 qualifying runs.
So that's 4. that we have in of how many did you say are showing up?
20.
20. So there's only 16 spots. So that's 4 we got in. Who are the 4 that are out?
Well, and like I say, you look at some of the names on this list. Doug Foley, that car's capable of mid 70s, low 70s. Krista Baldwin can go out there and throw a 70 out. I mean, Sean Reed, they're going to run a number. Lex June, they're creeping up on it. They've been 80s. I think that Lex is going to be one of the ones that doesn't, unfortunately. Hate to say it, but
okay, so that's one.
I don't see that he's going to make it. Dan Mercier, another one. I mean, the thing that comes to mind is when we were in Chicago, because TJ Zizzo, Dan Mercier, I mean, they're out there going rounds. They're qualifying TJ number 1 and going rounds, and you had Brittany out on the field there. So, and Tony on the bump. Tony Stewart's resurgent, but man, it's really, really hard to say. And it's to the game of inches in Top Fuel right now in eliminations with these cars being thousandths of a second apart. Somebody could get their heart. I mean,
someone's going to get their heart.
Josh Hart trying to get himself into the top 10. He could be on the list too. I mean, he had such a dismal showing at Norwalk, and they seem to have found something to turn that car around. But
and then
you
they
can't
brought
be
John,
a mid to high 70 player against some of these other guys that are showing up.
They did bring John Stewart in, who was with the Trip Tatum team, and uses pretty much a Torrance setup to a certain degree. I'm sure he's implemented a lot of that. We've seen that car run a lot better the past few races. I'm sure they're going to be testing. I mean, there's going to be a lot of testing going on between Brainerd and Indy, as we all know. I just feel like someone is going to get their hearts broken at Indy. They might still make the top 10, but there's going to be someone, a full touring pro, that's not going to make the field. That's going to be sitting on the sideline come Monday. Either that or heading on their private jet if they own one back home, because it's going to be a dogfight. Funny car, I don't know. I don't know. I think we'll see the major players all qualify for the funny car field, and you just get a few extras in there. I don't see anyone not making the field that's a major player.
No, I mean, not to knock the funny car guys, but the part-timers that are coming up here, you've got Terry Haddock, you've got Dave Richards, Terry Haddock, who's been missing for most of the summer swing of the tour. He's back in action. So it'd be great to see them back out there. They can be a solid 3-second car. But, Chris King's coming out there. They're still working on their setup. Justin Schrieffer's working on their setup. Bobby Bodie, awesome performance at Brainerd. Some career there.
Oh, yeah.
So that was awesome for them. That it's just a matter of everybody getting it down at the right time. And I think if the stars align properly, you could have yourself a 3-second funny car field.
Possibly.
But probably it would be horrible.
Well, when it comes to funny car, I mean, it's really the big four and everyone else. It's the Dodge, the Chevy, the Toyota, and the Ford, and everyone else. Well, now there's another Chevy. There's 2 Chevys now.
Right.
You can't count out that other Chevy with Jack Beckman. I mean, that's a car you definitely can't count out. I mean, the only difference is I don't see Jack Beckman deep staging on everyone from time to time. But I mean, outside of that, you can't count that guy out. So the big four, and then that fifth car, which was second in points before the unfortunate incident in Richmond. So yeah,
and I'll go a step further with the funny car class. How do you think the call-outs are going to play out? Because Bob Tasker gets to pick first, and then Caps, and then Hagan, and then Chad Green, if they haven't already been picked, to work their way down the lineup. But, if you're Bob Tasker, who are you calling out first round in funny car?
Well, if you really got some nuts on you and you feel like Gage Herrera, you call out Austin Prock.
Yeah, but I could have swore – I can't remember if it was him or Robert Hyde. Didn't they do that last year, a couple years ago? Somebody like number 1 and 2 just called each other out first round, was just like, let's just do it.
Let's do it. I mean, Tarek, Tasca talks a good game. He likes to run a little smack on the top end, especially when he wins.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
If you got the first call out Proc or Beckman round one. That's just me. It's talk to talk. Let's see it. I think it depends on weather. If it's a 90-degree racetrack and it's cloud cover and cool, he will. If it's a 125-degree racetrack and the sun is out and it's hot and tricky, I don't think he will. That team does not run great in the heat. They are a team that is built for running big speed and cooler conditions. So we'll just see. It'll be interesting.
It will be. I think so. 340 at Indy?
No, it's not going to happen. That night session would have to be just. So in Sonoma, he had the perfect conditions. He just had a headwind, about a 15-mile-an-hour headwind. In Indy, I think you're going to just deal with the humidity. It just depends on which Indy shows up. If you've been to Indy, I think you've been to Indy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
It's either hot or it's cold. You don't even get a middle with that place. It's either hot and humid and miserable, or it's cool where I believe it was 3 years ago where the top fuel was like 9 or 10 top fuel cars were in the 60s because it was just the weather was that great. So if maybe, but I don't see it. I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
It might, but everyone's been talking about Tasca. The official speed record was with 339.80. This is held by Proc and Robert Height at Sonoma from 2017. So who's to say they can't do it? I don't think Proc has been trying for it as much as Tasca has, but I definitely believe they can do it. We'll see. You never know. It's Indy. We will see.
It's going to be interesting. And the other thing that I was told this year, didn't even realize till I looked at the schedule, was told to, hey, you should look at the schedule because I'm planning on being there this year for the 5 days. They have eliminated Saturday night qualifying. It's just Friday night only, and then Saturday and Sunday are both daytime and afternoon sessions.
Wow. That was always the great part about Indy. You had the 2 night sessions, Friday night and Saturday night.
Just Friday night, and then basically 4 race day tune-up qualifiers.
Wow. Why? Did you find out why they did that, or what was the reason behind it?
They're just running sportsman eliminations through Saturday afternoon and evening, from what I see on the schedule.
Yeah, that's always been such a great thing about the Indy races, that you essentially had 2 night sessions.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, from what I see, don't get me wrong, they're just jam-packed full of stuff like Indy always is. The Saturday schedule, they've got autograph sessions and the Mission Foods display and everything going on there. Cackle Fest, Pro Mod qualifying pretty much kicks up the pro start of things at 11, and then going through the Too Fast, Too Tasties until you get to the Funny Car Challenge. But they're running at basically starting at 11, and then second session is starting at 2, and then Pro Mod Top Alcohol at 5:30, Flex Jet Factory Stock Showdown at 6:30, Factory X at 6:45, and then Sportsman Elimination starting at 7 and working its way through. And it looks like they're getting through on Sunday morning. Pro Mod round 1, Top Alcohol round 1, 10 a.m. Sunday morning. Their guys are running themselves through. It looks like actually Pro Mod is going to be completely over with on Sunday. They're not even running Pro Mod on Monday. They're going to finish their that category on Sunday.
Well, all I can hope for, and I hate to say this because I actually like the Saturday night show. Hopefully get some rain on Saturday and it pushes everything back a few hours and then we get a Saturday night session. That's not me being negative. That's me hoping for the best. There's nothing better than 2 night sessions, and only Indy gives that to you.
I agree. No, believe me, I agree.
It is Indy, and rain isn't necessarily far-fetched with Indy.
No. And the sad part is, in this time of year, the rain could be a little bit here, a little bit there, and an annoyance. Or we've seen the U.S. Nationals postponed to a whole separate weekend on multiple occasions because it's just a deluge and it don't stop. So you never know what you might get with the weather either, with the rain part of things.
Yeah, hopefully it does. Like, I think it was 2013 I was there, and it rained on Saturday. And we ended up with a funny car night session that was pretty cool. That was ran at like 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Unfortunate but true. But you know what? We'll see, and we'll have a lot to talk about. You'll be there. I won't.
I will be there, so I might need a day or two to recover from coming back from there, because that's going to be a heck of an experience with everything going on.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll talk. We'll probably just, hey, folks, we'll probably be on Wednesday after Indy. Dave's going to need time to recover. Not a problem. We'll do Wednesday after Indy. You know what? It might be a long weekend for me. I got some other things going on, some family things going on as far as vacationing for the weekend. So, you know what? We'll talk about it on Wednesday. Till then, folks, Mike D, Dave W, we will see you in 2 Wednesdays from Indy. No, not from Indy, from home. Talking about Indy.
From home.
Thank you guys for tuning in. All right, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.